Welcome to Moments with Marianne. This is your host, Marianne Pastana. And we're here today with special guest, Maggie Berghoff, who's here to share with us her book, Eat Right for Your Inflammation Type, the 3-step program to strengthen immunity, heal chronic pain, and boost your energy. So can we heal chronic pain and create overall well-being? Well, today, Maggie Berghoff is going to share just that. So Maggie Berghoff is the founder of a cutting-edge health and wellness agency rooted in functional and integrative medicine, trusted by celebrities, professional athletes, and CEOs and executives. Maggie has been featured in many outlets such as USA Today, Business Insider, Entrepreneur, Well and Good, Under Armour, CBS, NBC, Glamour, and many more. So let's welcome to the show, Maggie Berghoff.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh. As soon as I saw your book, I knew we needed to talk. I mean, people are thinking, gosh, I have to eat for my inflammation type. And I'm just so intrigued. What inspired you to write this book?
Yes. Well, my own horrible health journey, I guess. I say horrible, but honestly, I'm so glad it happened because it led me to this moment, helping all of you through your inflammatory problems. And when I had a health crash in my young 20s, it was really hard to figure out what to focus on first, second, third, because oftentimes when you're struggling with a lot of symptoms like fatigue and bloating and insomnia and breaking out, your skin breaking out, your hair thinning, these are all things that I was struggling with. It's hard to nail down what is actually going on so you can start to fix it.
Well, why don't you share a little bit about your story in the 20s? I was really surprised that happened, and I think a lot of people, it kind of drives it home, kind of going, oh gosh, something like that could happen to me.
Yeah, actually, it is interesting because on the outside in my young 20s, I appeared very vibrant, healthy, energetic, happy, and as if everything was fine. But actually inside my body, a lot of inflammation was adding up, nutrient deficiencies, gut imbalance. And I call this the total toxic burden. So eventually my total toxic burden had reached its cap. And then externally and also physically, mentally, emotionally, I started to experience all of these symptoms. But it wasn't really until that moment. I had things here and there, like nagging symptoms many people struggle with. But I had no idea that I was just on the brink from a massive health decline that ended up in autoimmune disease, a mini stroke when I was just 24 years old, and all of these other complications that my doctors diagnosed me with.
So when we talk about inflammation, how does that work within the body? Because I know you mentioned a few things. We talk about hair thinning. What does it mean when we have inflammation of the gut?
So inflammation in the gut is interesting because it can present itself very typically like you're bloated all the time, or you have gut pain, or you're running to the restroom. Maybe you're chronically constipated, or opposite, you have episodes of diarrhea. But the tricky part is that it could also be totally discrete. Maybe you have extra, heightened anxiety or irritability. Maybe your skin is breaking out in rashes, hives, or acne. Maybe it's just that you're tired throughout the day and having afternoon crashes. Those could also be symptoms of gut inflammation. So it's really tricky to identify. And that's the whole purpose of this book, to help you to figure out what is the actual root cause of your health symptoms.
Well, and so how do people identify their inflammation type? How do we even get started?
So in the book, I break it out into 6 different inflammatory types, and there is a quiz to help you identify what type you are. Now, by trade, I'm a functional medicine practitioner, and the gold standard would really be to figure out, to get laboratory testing done and to work with a specialist to figure out what this may be. However, through a lot of years of experience and seeing lots and lots of clientele, I've compiled the most common things that I see with these inflammatory types into a quiz that will help you to identify what it is for you so that you can start to heal, even if you don't work with a specialist.
I think that's encouraging for a lot of people. I would be surprised that, there are so many people that have these type of symptoms that you're talking about. I would be surprised if they don't have a little bit of this going on.
I think every single person that I've ever encountered has at least some of it. And even Marianne, I work with high performing individuals a lot too, who come to me and they're like, there's just that one thing they want to fine tune. And it's really important that you notice what that is, because there's things in this book, specifically part 2 and part 3, that dive into how we can reduce inflammation and our total toxic burden each and every day, so that we can continue to thrive and that we don't have to deal with the chronic health decline or a massive health crash. And we can really, really feel our best emotionally and physically.
So I know in your book, you talk about muscle and joint inflammation. How does that impact us?
Most people with muscle and joint inflammation are struggling with even doing their daily activities, like their hand starts to cramp up, maybe when they're blowing their hair, or when they're getting out of bed, they're feeling really achy. And one of my clients described this as they felt like an 80-year-old man getting out of bed in the morning. And this was a young 20-something-year-old male. And so you feel the aches and pains, or maybe your muscles are very tight and you just always feel tight. This could be muscle and joint inflammation.
Well, I think it's encouraging to hear that so people can start getting to the root of their problem, because a lot of times we just get a medication that deals with the symptoms, not the problem.
Absolutely. And it's important to know also that I'm not against medications. And I think that they can be very useful for the right time, right person, right duration. But many of what every one of your viewers are struggling with can be helped with what is in this book, even without medications. And sometimes when we use medications, it can just be a helpful bridge as we start to actually heal that problem. And just a little education here is, when you take a medication, what that does is helps to essentially resolve the symptom, but not the root cause of why that symptom is happening. So in this book, you'll learn how to identify what that root cause is for you and how to actually reverse it at the core, so that you don't have to rely on medications, hopefully long term.
Yeah, we want to get to the source of what's going on and deal with that. Well, in your book, I know you go over several different inflammation types for muscles and joints, and I'd love for you to share some of them with our listeners. I was a little surprised by some of them.
Yes, definitely. And it is tricky because a lot of times when you're struggling with things like fibromyalgia, RA, all these other autoimmune inflammatory pathways, you probably are used to doctors telling you that there's nothing you can do about it, but take medication. And I have just seen the exact opposite with many of my clientele and many of the people in this space. There is absolutely hope that you could reverse, if not greatly, greatly reduce your symptoms naturally. And then it's just such a better situation and quality of life for sure.
So when we talk also, I know you in your book, you share about hormonal health and thyroid. How can we tell if we're even having inflammation there? And what does that look like?
It really is dependent on the person, but many people may have irregular cycles. Maybe that is, if you are a female, you're of reproductive age, your cycles are non-existent, or maybe they're super light, super irregular, super heavy, super painful. So that is a really good indication of sex hormonal imbalance. But it could also be something like irritability, right? So sometimes if our testosterone levels are too high, too low, we could experience irritability. We could experience weight gain or weight loss. Bloating could even be indicative of a hormonal imbalance. And then we talk specifically about thyroid health in the book in depth, because this is very common in both men and women. And in thyroid health, you could experience symptoms of being really, really cold all the time, or on the opposite end of the spectrum, being very hot and having hot flashes, being irritable, depressed, unmotivated, even have symptoms like your hair is falling out, your skin is starting to break out or become pretty dull. The symptoms can be pretty extensive, and it's important in the book. You'll see a checklist that you look at that checklist and you identify, could you be having a hormonal imbalance? Because it's possible you could, even if your traditional laboratory testing states you don't. And that's so, it's mind blowing to think about that. But what happens is a lot of people, they fall through the cracks and they're undiagnosed for years and years and years until things get so bad that then, yes, finally their laboratory work shows major imbalances. But you could have prevented that huge decline, and you could have spent those years and years trying to figure it out, waiting for it to get so bad, actually rebalancing and feeling well.
Now, is that detected by just doing certain tests that maybe normal doctors don't do?
Yes, there are actually specialty functional medicine tests that practitioners like myself will run on clients that look deeper into things rather than a baseline. So traditional lab work is very baseline and very important. But what we found is that there are a lot of things to look into that contribute to inflammatory pathways and health decline, such as advanced nutrient levels, advanced thyroid and sex hormone panels. We're talking about hormone and hormone and thyroid right now. So I'll give an example. If you go to a traditional doctor, when they draw for your sex hormones and for your thyroid levels, it's a very basic lab. Most of them are drawing for TSH levels for thyroid, and for your sex hormones, they may be drawing progesterone, testosterone, estrogen, but it's just that very day. And we know that your hormones as a woman fluctuate throughout the month. So the testing that myself would and my practitioners would do would be to assess your hormones over the span of the month and see what is your curve doing? When are your levels elevated and how much? And then we can actually specifically cater to those levels during those times on that curve that your body most needs. So it's just more in-depth testing and evaluation to look into what's going on in your body.
What are some of the other symptoms that you see of people that are having hormonal imbalances and thyroid imbalances?
Well, on a big level, it could be infertility. They could be struggling with getting pregnant. And I've seen people misdiagnosed with infertility, myself included. And actually, it was just a hormonal imbalance and excessive inflammation. And this is when perhaps your doctors say that, everything structurally looks normal in your body. And we've troubleshooted and we've looked into things and everything looks normal. And you don't know why you can't have this child. That could be a major hormonal imbalance, definitely. And then other things that I really see are, I think mood is greatly impacted with thyroid and sex hormone health in both males and females. So just waking up and just feeling kind of groggy, feeling brain fog, unmotivated, not quite yourself. You don't have that pep in your step like you once had. That could be a hormonal imbalance.
There's so many different things that you have listed in your book, and I was really surprised by some of them that are actually attributed to an inflammation type. Is this the thing that usually people will have, like if you get like a little bit weight gain or something like that, where you talk about being foggy, people are just, let's say they have fatigue. Are these some of the symptoms?
Yeah, definitely. And most people would say, oh, it's normal. You're stressed. You have children. You're working all the time. You ate a bunch of food. Of course, you're bloated. But it's not normal. It's common, but it's not normal. And when you have symptoms like this, regardless of what's going on in your life, there are things that you can do that are actually pretty simplistic and many of them free that you could be doing to reduce these symptoms so you don't have to struggle with this and that you can feel amazing. And maybe don't even have to get on medications or have, like you said, maybe a little bit of weight is creeping up. Well, that could turn into a bit of weight down the road, slowly but surely. So it's important to notice this and to address these chronic symptoms before they get worse.
Okay, so let's talk about the big one. I think it's big for most people. Let's talk about sugar. So how does sugar affect our inflammation?
Sugar impacts our inflammation on many levels. It really is a whole body cascade, the impact that sugar has on our body. It spikes our insulin levels. It can make our neurotransmitters a little off, so we feel a little irritable. We have energy crashes, so our energy levels are off. It can impact our sleep quality at night if we eat sugar before bed. There are just so many things that sugar impacts our body with. And when you look at your inflammation, your sugar, your life, I don't really encourage people to completely avoid sugar forever and ever. I'm not an all or nothing. You'll see that in the book. I want you to thrive in a modern day world and enjoy the things you love. But there are things that we can do to reduce the sugar impact on our body. And overall, just be very cognizant about the amount of sugar we're using, because oftentimes it is very simple to reduce the sugar levels. So when you do say, enjoy some sugar, some actual cane sugar in a cookie or your aunt's favorite pie, whatever it is, it's not having as bad of an impact on your body as it once did.
Well, that's good to know because you hear about sugar all the time going, gosh, it just has such a huge impact. And I hear, especially for the gut.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. So it can grow candida and yeast in the gut lining that actually is fed by sugar. So it's a cycle, because the more sugar you eat, the more that grows. But the more that gut bacteria grows, then the more you crave sugar. So your cravings are off. And then it's this endless cycle, and you get deeper and deeper because you wake up craving carbohydrates and sugar, and that further feeds the gut bacteria, and it causes all sorts of inflammation.
Oh, wow. That's a scary thing.
Yeah.
But, I found your book to be very encouraging because it helps people to understand what's going on so they can make changes. And one of the things I was really surprised about is how this can also affect our mood, our mental state.
Yes, actually, most of the neurotransmitters in your body, which are responsible for your mood and your mental state, are made in your gut lining. And studies are, showing that there could be a major connection there, where if your gut is out of balance, it is going to reduce the amount of neurotransmitters that you have built, the amount of pathways that are activating properly, and you will feel anxious or irritable or depressed. You can definitely be impacted by that. And so if we reduce our sugar impact, reduce the inflammation in our gut lining, reduce that bad bacteria that is fed by sugar, we can start to elevate our mental state.
Do you have a story to share with us? Because I know you've worked with so many people, just in how someone's gone through this point of working through their inflammation for whatever kind of concern to where they are now.
Oh my gosh, I have so many stories that I would actually lay in bed when I first started to be a practitioner in functional medicine. And I would look at my husband, I couldn't turn my brain off. And I would just be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe so-and-so, this happened to them. I can't believe this happened, because it is incredible what the body will do when we give it the helping hand that it needs to heal. I think we just spoke about sugar and neurotransmitters. One of my most amazing situations was a woman that came to me with anxiety. She had heavy anxiety. This was really impacting her relationship, how she was as a mother to her children, her work life. And she said, honest to God, within 1 week, she was messaging me and said that her anxiety reduced by 75% in
Wow.
1 week of signing up with me.
Wow.
I mean, what would that do in your life if you were 75% less anxious just from a few simple swaps and a few simple lifestyle upgrades? Many of them are free. It's just so incredible.
Especially now, going through all we've been through, you hear of people that have really suffered from anxiety and depression, due to the pandemic. And here we're starting a new year, so we can start with new habits.
Yeah, new habits, refreshing lifestyle. It's such a status upgrade. And the most important thing, and the biggest thing I'm proud of is that this is such a status upgrade. This is not some kind of diet or some kind of protocol or a restrictive thing that you have to do. This is so exciting and fun to implement these things in the book that are up leveling your life. So simplistic, it's so simplistic. So if we elevate, we go into the new year, right? We just started this. We're all really eager and excited, looking forward to the year ahead. And we make a few simple swaps and say 75% of your anxiety and stress reduces within 1 week. I mean, you are going to show up a whole different way for yourself, for your family, for the whole world. And it's just going to create this massive positive ripple effect.
Oh my gosh, for sure. And God, what a improvement that would be to, get to this place where people are shedding their depression and anxiety and being able to really be functional.
Yeah, I mean, it really is this amazing positive ripple effect that goes on. And you deserve to feel that way. You don't deserve to be struggling every single day because you never knew that you could change your story, because you were told that this was lifelong, or you had to be on medications, or this was genetic and this is just a part of your life now. I was told those things. And it obviously turned out not to be true, because I implemented these things and reduced my inflammation. And now my body is completely healed. And it's possible for many, many of you as well.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. I absolutely love your book. I have my own copy that I've purchased, and I think that's a great gift for the new year for lots of people. In your book, you talk about digestive inflammation. I know we've gone over some of this. What are some of the issues, the common issues that occur when people are having digestive inflammation?
Well, at the very basic, I think the first things that you would notice is possibly bloating after eating. And many people will say that they bloat even when they eat healthy food. It's like you can't even figure out what this is. They'll be super frustrated because they're like, I'm eating healthy and I'm still getting bloated all the time. So that could be something, it's very common that I see, but again, not normal. It's not normal. Chronic constipation, when somebody asks you, maybe you're at the doctor's office and they ask how many bowel movements you have a day. And you're like, a day? I don't remember the last time I had a bowel movement. So chronic constipation, diarrhea, definitely gut pain. Some people, when you're eating, it actually causes pain, or maybe you have to run to the restroom real quick and use the restroom, which could be terribly horrible. I mean, we had one client this was impacting her career. She would be getting ready to speak on stage or getting ready to go to a big event, and her bowel problems seriously impacted that. She had to cancel events, cancel things. She was stuck in her hotel room on the floor in actual pain from her digestive health.
Oh, wow. That is just horrible. And, a lot of times people would probably write that off to some kind of, anxiety or something and not really relate it to inflammation.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing is everything's connected. There could be definitely anxiety could heighten that. But probably this individual was predisposed to gut imbalance. And I know this because I worked with her. So I knew that she already was struggling with bloating. She's had chronic constipation since she was young. She has hormonal irregulation. So there's a lot of things. It's never just one thing. I wish it was. That'd be pretty sexy if I could be like, oh, this is the one thing. But the whole body is connected. And each part of the body impacts another part. So if something's going wrong in your gut lining, or say your neurotransmitters, you're super anxious, panic attacks, whatever this is, super stressed, it is going to impact the other parts of your body. It's not just going to impact that one thing.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting if there is just one button, but that's not how life is. You're right.
Yeah, it's everything, and it's tough, to narrow it down. But that's what this whole book is. It's like all of my life's work to narrow down as specific as it possibly can get, to make it super step by step as it could be, because the body is very complex. But again, the really cool thing for everybody to know is that you don't have to know it all. You really do not have to know it all. As long as you implement the stuff in this book and reduce your inflammation, reduce your total toxic burden, address your specific inflammatory type, because there are certain, supplements or dietary recommendations or lifestyle recommendations or even fitness recommendations based on your inflammatory type. As long as you target a few of those things, what happens is the body's inflammation and toxic burden, the body's basically the bad things coming in at the body will be lessened. And when your body doesn't have to work so hard to mitigate those impacts, it saves energy and it has more energy to do what it's supposed to do, like rebalance whatever's going wrong in your body. So your body will have more, fighters to defend you when it's not worried so much about getting rid of the toxic lotion you put on your body that morning, right? So it's all about just boosting up those reserves and letting your body do its thing, because your body honestly is smarter than me. It's smarter than any doctor in the world. It's just your body knows what it needs to do. It just needs that helping hand in the right direction.
Do you find that inflammation can also impact allergies?
Yes, it can. And this is a really good situation of something being predisposed. So many people are actually born or develop severe allergies. And when allergies, I'm kind of talking of like IgE allergies, where, you walk outside and you're sneezing and your eyes are swollen and watery, or maybe you eat something like a peanut and you have a huge allergic reaction where it's hard to breathe. You need an EpiPen. So allergies, but they can be greatly reduced by reducing inflammation. And it's from that very mechanism I just talked about, where if we reduce the total inflammatory load on the body, your body has a stronger immune system built up to defend itself from these inflammatory stressors. So there are things that we can do every single day to help our body to defend itself from the inflammation, from allergies, asthma, etc.
I know in your book you talk about the anti-inflammatory way of life. What is that?
That is waking up every day, knowing inside that you are just living a more anti-inflammatory life, honoring your body, your life, how you feel, how you show up in the world. And it can mean something different for every individual. You do not have to be perfect by any means, or what I say is, a purist or live under a rock somewhere. I want you to be living in this modern day world, but being intuitive and cognizant about the things that you're doing in your life that may be causing inflammation. Like, we don't want to hurt ourselves. We should not want to hurt ourselves. We should want to fuel our body for energy, for success, for feeling really, really good, for being happy. And so living an anti-inflammatory lifestyle will allow us to do that on an everyday basis.
Well, on that note, we're going to pause here for a quick break. We've been speaking with Maggie Berghoff in regards to her book, Eat Right for Your Inflammation Type, the 3-step program to strengthen immunity, heal chronic pain, and boost your energy. We'll be right back after these messages from our sponsors.
Are you an actor, public speaker, or an executive telling your story over Zoom? Jean-Louis Rodrigue and Scott Weintraub's new book, Back to the Body, takes the process they use to coach top Hollywood talent like Margot Robbie, Jack Black, and Ke Huy Quan and makes it available to everyone. Using your body and its energy as a point of departure, your work will gain an enhanced level of performance and depth. Back to the Body, available on Amazon and wherever books are sold.
Every day, pets are surrendered and abandoned. For these helpless and hurting animals, Paws Humane Society acts as a voice for the voiceless, providing hope for a brighter future. You can make a difference in the life of a shelter pet. Become a humane hero today. Just $10 a month will provide much-needed food, shelter, medical care, and love. It takes a community. It takes heroes like you. Together we can. Together we will. Together, we are Paws Humane. Visit pawshumane.org to be a hero in every animal story.
What if everything we think we know about addiction, depression, anxiety, and trauma is missing the one key element that will actually let you walk away from them for good? My name's Bob Gardner, founder of The Freedom Specialist and creator of a body-based approach that eliminates suffering and creates happiness, health, and well-being on autopilot. You can read all about it in my book, Built for Freedom, or start your own adventure toward lasting freedom at thefreedomspecialist.com.
If you want to stop divorce fast, you do not need to waste years in therapy, you do not need to work on yourself, and you do not even have to have your spouse on board. If your spouse wants out, if they're filing for divorce, separation, or having an affair, what you need is a proven process to turn your marriage around. Book a free breakthrough session with us at highthrivecoaching.com/apply.
Dr. Richard London, who has 25 years of experience being known as the Man of Steel with the Heart of Velvet, presents the Life Wellness System, The Road to Yes, a mentoring system that brings you to becoming a wellness heir. Imagine having wealth, wellness, love, peace, and spirituality in abundance and balance now. Visit doctorateoflife.com or call 720-213-8021 for a free 15-minute wellness evaluation.
The first thing you need to know about me is that I love my kids, but they are not my everything. They used to be, but that's when my entire life fell apart. In order to pick back up the pieces, I had to put the love I have for myself before everything else, including my kids. I'm Jessica Dennehy, and I own multiple businesses. I'm a best-selling author, and I have all the strategies that I've used to make my life what it is today. And I'm going to teach you how to do them in my new book, Selfish is a Superpower. So go get your copy today on Barnes & Noble or jessicadennehy.com.
Announcing a revolutionary tool for wellness. Scalar Light has the ability to enhance and harmonize your own bioenergies. With Scalar Light, you can get started in just minutes and begin feeling better the very next day. Scalar Light is a remote energy that gently and subtly works with your own body's bioenergies, increases pro-cellular wellness, and enhances your body's immunity.
Experience the benefits of Scalar Light. Try a complimentary 15-day experience at scalarlight.com.
In your hands lie ancestral patterns. These patterns shape how you think, what you struggle with, and experiences you love, your life pattern. We're going into the latest neuroscience of biological hand analysis, a realm beyond palmistry where science and the soul entwine. Hand analysis is the latest method to transform lifelong patterns. I am Master Hand Analyst Brent Bruning. Join us and visit thepowerinyourhands.com.
I'd like to thank Jason Eastwood at Guitarfulness for sharing his inspiring music and talent with us. His music is known worldwide for cultivating atmospheres of harmony, inner peace, and clarity. Visit Jason's website at guitarfulness.com. Join his newsletter, be part of his community, and download his music. Welcome back to Moments with Marianne. We're here today with special guest Maggie Berghoff, who's here sharing with us her book, Eat Right for Your Inflammation Type, the 3-step program to strengthen immunity, heal chronic pain, and boost your energy. Now, are there things in our home and maybe office that we really should look at, like environmental things that will cause inflammation?
Yes, and that's all a part of the lifestyle. And you get to choose what it is that you optimize. And so I will give you a ton of recommendations of things that you can optimize in your environment, such as choosing, we talked a little bit about lotion, choosing non-toxic lotion for your body instead of the other lotion that maybe has chemicals or food dyes or colorings in it that could be harmful. It's choosing maybe organic foods at the grocery if you're able to, versus the non-organic options that may have more harmful chemicals. It could even be something so simple as in your office, having a water filtration system that reduces the amount of chemicals and bacteria and things like that in your water, instead of just going to the sink to refill or using a really inexpensive water filter system that doesn't really filter what you actually need. So every little swap that you make reduces your toxic burden and lets your body have so much more energy and has your immune system heightened so that it can defend other things.
I know in your book you talk about heavy metal toxicity, and I would love for you to kind of expand on that for our listeners. I was really kind of surprised that we can, have this happen.
Yes, I see this often. This is actually part of my story as well. My personal aluminum levels were so high. It was that of somebody struggling with Alzheimer's. There's a connection with Alzheimer's and aluminum levels they found. And mine were just out the roof, and I was young 20s. And so obviously I had accumulated heavy metals in my body, and you shouldn't. You should be able to detoxify these things because we have organs that are made to detoxify our body. But what happens is when your body is crashing, when your body is under so much stress and inflammation, it can't do the things it's supposed to do as well. And so for heavy metals, this could be found in anything. It could be in your water. It could be in the Tupperware that you're using, the cooking items you're using, the food that you are eating, the drinks you are drinking. So it's really about looking and taking a really good, look at what are you putting on and in your body, and not having to memorize every little thing, but just thinking, is this natural for my body? Is this good? Is this going to give me energy? Or is this something that's kind of harmful for my body? And then making those little swaps as you go.
I know a lot of people are talking about how our phones and computers are really affecting our health. How does that play into all this?
The biggest thing for phones and computers is to reduce and to just know kind of when to turn it off. I think I did a post the other day, and I just said about how if something's not working right, unplug yourself and see how things go. And it's just really about unplugging those devices for a period of time, right? I want you to continue to use computers and phones because we all have to pretty much, but reducing the amount you're on them. You really don't need to be looking at your phone every single few minutes in between your workday. You really don't need it to be right in your pocket when you're just hanging around the house. Put that phone on the counter and arms width away to get it away from your body. Scoot your computer back a little. Don't put your laptop on your lap. I know that's funny, but don't put your laptop on your lap. Put it further away. Get yourself away from this and distance yourself. And then from a blue light perspective, the light that your phones and your computers put off can harm our sleep, which sleep is tied to everything, right? So we want to make sure that we're not using our devices at least 1 hour before bed. And if we really have to, then there are glasses that you can put on your eyes to protect yourself from the blue light and to reduce that harmful effect. There's also things that you could put on to make your tint of your phone and your computer like a little bit of a red tint, and that will help to reduce that blue light effect as well.
Oh, that's really interesting. I had no idea about that. I've heard people talk about, the glasses, but it's like, okay, well, what's the reason? Why are we doing this?
Circadian rhythm. So it's called circadian rhythm. It's the biological clock of the body, and it impacts and governs pretty much everything. But the most important thing that I care about is sleep. Because if your sleep is not great, and it's not even just 8 hours of sleep, it's like, how deep is your sleep? How well rested are you waking up? if that's not on point, then it really does impact a lot of other things. Like you wake up hungrier, groggy, not quite the same. You're not as energetic. So yes, blue light can definitely impact your circadian rhythm.
So you talked about sleep and the importance of that. Are there other things that impact our sleep other than blue light?
Yes. Actually, the blue light is important, but even things like getting outside. So people who are inside every day, all day could have a hard time falling asleep because we're not getting that natural melatonin from the sun rays actually. So when you want to optimize your sleep, one thing that you could do is get outside in the morning. The early morning sun rays can actually activate mitochondrial cells on your skin and in your eyes and help to start set that circadian rhythm. So you could be improving your sleep in the first thing in the morning. And then in the evening time during sunset, those rays are actually shown to boost melatonin, which is like the sleep good hormone. And so you could simply be taking an evening walk after dinner, and that can actually improve your sleep. And if you're just inside underneath your bright lights, that could harm your sleep because your body doesn't know that it needs to make that melatonin because probably it doesn't even know that it's nighttime since you're just under those same lights all day, every day.
Oh, isn't that the truth, right? Especially during this time, so many people have been that way where we've been kind of sheltered and staying in place type of thing. Even when we go out, we're kind of being very careful.
And I think I feel like the majority of people are, and myself included. I have to remind myself, okay, let's take a break. Let's go outside, right? Let's get outside in the morning time. Sometimes it's hard because it's cold outside or something, but it's so important. Like humans are not made to just be underneath these lights inside this house all day, every day. And going out to your car after work doesn't count as being outdoors. Like we really need to work on getting outdoors a little bit more.
Yeah, walking to the office in the morning doesn't count.
Yeah. You don't get points for that.
Well, are there foods that will actually cause greater inflammation in the body than others?
Yes, there are. And again, I'm really careful about this because I don't want you to feel like afraid of food, right? And I've dealt with that, and I've had many people who have dealt with that. But in general, if you really want to reduce your inflammation, I would try, even for 3 weeks, like a 21-day reset, and this is in the book as well, to reduce grains, sugar, and dairy. In my experience and with my clientele, reducing these things will reduce your inflammation and you will feel better. It's pretty much as simple as that. I have never had somebody reduce these things and say that they feel worse. It's only good things. If you want to go really in depth, there are other things that could cause inflammation for certain individuals, such as nightshades. If you have autoimmune disease, nightshades could definitely be a trigger of that. Fungus like mushrooms could be a trigger of that as well. But if you wanted to really, really simplify things, if you reduce grain, sugar, dairy for a time, then I think that you will start to feel a little bit better because your inflammation levels will go down.
Well, gosh, what a perfect time of year to start this. I mean, 21 days, it doesn't take much to do that.
Right. And it's actually pretty simple. Back in the day, probably, I don't know, even maybe 10 years ago, this was a lot harder. But now a lot of brands are aware of inflammation and wanting to help us to get healthier. Believe it or not, some brands really are trying. And so there are a lot of grain-free, dairy-free, sugar-free brands on the market at the stores, even at normal stores. You don't have to go to the really fancy healthy food stores. At typical stores, Costco, Kroger, all of these places, a lot of them have healthier options that are already grain, sugar, dairy-free for you. So things like taco shells and tortilla chips and even brownies, right? We can, choose these healthier swaps to help to reduce inflammation while still enjoying the foods that you're going to probably eat.
Yes, I was so impressed how you had listed the things that people normally eat. We talk about cane sugar and how it can be, swapped out for, stevia or raw honey. So you really give people a place to start.
Yeah, I love this example that I did for a client. Even if you have like your favorite thing you are just so in love with, say it's, cheesy Doritos, or for this particular client, it was Starbursts. There are always healthier options out there for you. So what I really love to do is helping people to find the healthier option of what they are going to eat or what they are eating. And then usually, slowly but surely, when they're eating those healthier options and inflammatory levels go down, their body stops craving the other stuff. It's incredible. So when your inflammatory levels go down, when your gut bacteria starts to level out and you start to heal your hormones, your cravings kind of stop. right? So you actually start to crave the healthier options and slowly but surely start to choose those by choice, not because you have to, not because you're trying to do this diet. You actually genuinely want to choose the more nourishing option, which is so cool. And it sounds probably very far off for a lot of you listening, but I'm telling you, it works that way. So even for this one woman with Starburst, that was her jam. Well, I just had her switch to an organic, basically like the Starburst, healthier version. And it's just all organic fruit juices is how they make these fruit juice. And they're so good. She loved them so much. I also had her buy them. I had her go in person to like a healthier grocery store to purchase these so that she was seeing all the other healthier options and swaps, because there's really something for everything. No matter what you enjoy, there's probably a healthier option out there that's going to be better for you.
One thing we didn't cover was, when we talk about grains. And I would love for you to expound on that for our listeners, because we know that a lot of people are eating grains and we hear about, well, maybe we should go gluten-free. Mm-hmm. What's that all about?
Yes, I'm not actually a huge fan of the gluten-free thing. I mean, I think that reducing gluten is definitely helpful for many people, but for me, it's actually beyond that. It's actually grains in general. So you could have, gluten-free oats, gluten-free quinoa, gluten-free rice, gluten-free wheat, whatever it is. But actually, what I have seen is that still causes a lot of inflammation in clients, especially with digestive issues, there's digestive complications. So instead of that, you would think that quinoa is the healthy version, or brown rice is the healthy version, gluten-free cereal, whatever it is, gluten-free pancakes. It's actually not helping my clients. And so I really want you all to get results. That's what I care about more than anything in the world, is helping you guys feel healthy and happy. And in general, reducing those grains, I have seen the biggest impact in my clientele. And again, it's not completely stopping it for the rest of your life forever and ever, but like maybe just don't cook it at home, or don't buy it at the grocery store, and don't have it be a normal everyday part of your nutrition.
Yeah, don't put that in the pantry, basically.
Yeah. And there's healthy swaps. So even if you like rice, there's other kind of stir fry, like there are great brands that have stir fry rice with cauliflower, or at least like cauliflower and mix it half cauliflower rice and half rice. So you have at least a reduced amount of those grains, because again, it's just going to help you feel better. And that's really, really, really care about.
So even, I know a lot of people say, gosh, well, I've got chronic pain. I don't know if, doing this will help. What's your thoughts around that?
Well, first of all, whatever you're doing right now is not helping probably, right? Like, hard truth, most of what you're trying obviously hasn't resolved what you're dealing with, or at least helped long-term. Like maybe you get some results for a little bit, but then you go back to whatever you were struggling with beforehand. It's very short-term. So for me, it's worth a shot, right? And I would say just give it 3 weeks. Give it 3 weeks to implement even just one thing from this book, even just one thing. And I really, really believe with everything in me, you will see an impact. It can't make things worse, right? So it can only do good. So it's worth a shot, because I don't want you struggling with joint pain anymore. Like, I don't want you waking up, one of my clients was actually struggling to even do her little girl's hair in the morning, or to lift her up, to hold her in the morning. Like, that is not okay. That is not okay with me. I want you to be able to live your life fully.
I think that's what everyone wants, and it's interesting. You really kind of dive into many different, different issues that arise from inflammation, that we won't go over. It's in the book. But I felt that it really was empowering for people, because they're like, hey, I have Graves' disease, or I've got something bloating going on. They can really kind of dive into the book and learn more about what they can do to make changes.
Yeah. And like I said, there's no harm. There will only be good things that come from making healthier changes to your lifestyle, even if it's just mindset. Even if you're like, you know what? I like this Maggie girl, but I'm not going to change my nutrition. Cool. Read the mindset chapter and change that, right? I mean, there's just so many things that you can do to up-level your health and your quality of life. That if you picked up this book, if you're listening to this and you're even inspired a tiny bit to make a change, just do it. Just do one tiny change, and it will just add up to make an incredible impact in your life. I will share a story about one of the women who I helped. She was an older woman who was struggling with rheumatoid arthritis, and she had struggled with rheumatoid arthritis for years, and not to mention her sleep. She had had insomnia for 18 plus years, she told me, trying all sorts of medications, supplements, all the natural stuff too. She was already trying to eat healthy and nothing was working. We worked together for a handful of months. We got specialty functional medicine testing to figure out exactly what was going on in her body. And then we made a few core changes. And this woman not only ended up greatly reducing her medications that her doctor was absolutely shocked, but she started sleeping through the night sound without any medications or supplements, which has not happened in over 18 years. And this is just a handful of months together. And she was able to participate in a triathlon with her son and her daughter-in-law. And so she was able to do that. And then she texted me the next day how incredibly proud she was of herself because she woke up without inflammation after participating in a triathlon. And this woman was struggling with rheumatoid arthritis, trying to do her daily activities and struggling with inflammation every single day before we worked together. And it was just a few core changes that elevated her status and allowed her to actually live her life and to improve her quality of life from now until forever.
That's so empowering. You do hear about people having aches and pains, and a lot of times it just gets written off of, hey, you're getting older.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this woman, and I think a lot of it comes down to your mindset as well, because this woman was determined. She didn't give up on herself. She had tried the medication. She tried the natural stuff. She tried eating healthy, but she still wasn't getting well, and she didn't give up. She hired me and we worked together and we figured it out. So there's always hope, no matter how old you are, no matter what you've tried before. I love telling this to my clients. I always tell everyone who walks in the door that no matter what they've tried, no matter what happened, no matter what somebody told them or what they themselves believed in the past, I want you to wipe your whiteboard clean because we're going to start again. And we're going to start fresh and we're going to make this happen. And you can choose that for yourself at any moment.
Yeah, we can leave those stories behind, you know?
Yes. Yeah. I love one of my good friends. He's a practitioner, and what he does for his clients is he lets them, of course, tell their story. And usually in functional medicine, our first visits are usually hours long, right? Typically mine are like 90 minutes to even 2 hours. And what this, my colleague does is he actually tells them, like, I'm going to listen to your story. We're going to be together for 2 hours right now. I want you to tell it all to me. And I don't want to hear it again. We're going to recreate and start new. That's a part of your past now. And I'm like, that is so cool. That is so cool, right? It's no longer a part of your story. You get to rewrite your book right now, starting on page 1.
Oh, I love that. I absolutely love that because, so many people become kind of, involved in their story where that's the story. People ask how they're doing. They're like, oh, I'm in pain. I have this, I have that, as opposed to who they are as a person.
Exactly. Yeah. No, you get to decide from here out.
Do you have any final thoughts for our listeners here today, Maggie?
The biggest thing I would say is to not give up hope on this and to not give up on yourself, and to advocate for yourself. I have had so many people come to me saying that their doctor said that there was nothing else they could do, or maybe that they said that nothing was wrong and they left them, to fend for themselves. They said nothing's wrong on your lab work. And this person is sitting there frustrated and struggling. So advocate for yourself. Don't give up. Keep on pushing. And if that practitioner is not the right practitioner for you, find another one. This is your life that we're talking about. And I've just had too many situations where people have literally canceled surgeries that they no longer needed after working with me. Like they came to me, they had a surgery scheduled for something and they canceled it because it no longer was needed because they healed. Or somebody just recently who had gained 40 pounds in the last several months, doctors wrote it off as just, oh, you're stressed or whatever. But we found out that she had major thyroid and adrenal complications. We reversed that and the weight came off pretty effortlessly. So it's just, don't give up on yourself. Always keep fighting. You deserve to feel your very best.
Well, I just love your book, Eating Right for Your Inflammation Type. Maggie, where can our listeners connect with you and be part of your community and learn more about your work?
I am on Instagram and TikTok at Maggie_Berghoff. And that's my favorite place to connect with community because I can message you and we can chat and I do audio messages. And then my website is maggieberghoff.com. And that's where you will find all the updates. We send out so much free stuff and value over there at the website.
Well, Maggie, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was such an honor and joy, and I'm wishing all of you guys the very best.
Well, thank you, Maggie. It's been such an honor to spend this time with you and to talk about your book, Eat Right for Your Inflammation Type. Eat Right for Your Inflammation Type is available everywhere books are sold. And remember, support our indie bookstores. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne, where we make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.